Welcome to the channel. It's me, Vishnu, your learning partner. So let's learn something new today. And in today's session, we are going to learn about the Load Data Raptor, and we will be doing multiple kind of examples. So this might can get a bit long. Please hang on, and if you are having too much, please take a pause, then come back again. So let's get started. Go to the OmniStudio app and then go to the Data Raptor tab from here and then click on the new. So once you click on the new, you will be providing the name of the Data Raptor. I am providing first Data Raptor, which is going to be single object insert, and interface type would be load. I'll hit the save button. So here you can see we have multiple tabs, right? So first, what we are going to insert, we need to mention that. So here we are going to mention that we are going to insert the contact record. That's it. And so next step, in the field section, we are going to provide the mappings, what we are going to insert. So it will be more of a field mappings. Here I will mention that, okay, my input JSON is coming into the name, and I will call it last name because this is what we are going to insert here. And then I will use the last name of the contact. So this is our input, and this is where the data will be going. So this is field of the contact object, and I'll go to the preview tab now, and here we are going to create data. So we have the JSON. Here we are saying the last name, and in the last name my first contact insert. Okay, so this is same as the field input that we have provided here, and now click on the execute. So now you can see the contact record has been created, and so you can see the last name that we provided got utilized here. Okay, so this is a very first example and the simplest example of the record insertion. Now let's start with our second example where we will be inserting multiple record for the same object. So again, click on the new, give the name of the data raptor multi record insert. I'll call it single object multi record insert. Choose the interface type as load here, hit the save button, and provide your object. So here I'm going to choose the contact as my object, and then same way we are going to say, okay, I need to insert the last name, and this should go to the last name of the contact, and then we need to prepare a list. So let's go to the any of the JSON formatter website. I am utilizing here JSON lint. You can see, so this is the website that I'm utilizing to create the JSON data here. So here I will say, okay, this is my contacts list, and this is basically an array, and in the array we are going to create multiple objects. So here again I will utilize last name, and then my first contact, and then I will create another object of the contact, last name, my second contact. Then close it, click on the validate JSON. Okay, this JSON looks good. So here we have a list of contacts, and uh, each of the each of the contact we have mentioned here. So let's copy this. Let's go back to the Load Data Raptor, and so mention that this is will be your input JSON. Why? If you don't do this, like what happens? So if you don't do this, right, so when you are doing this last name, you have to type it basically, right? And if there is a new field, right, if there is a first name, you have to type it. But if you mention the input JSON here, it will pick variable names from here. So you can see, right? So you don't need to worry about this. So I will really suggest you to go through this practice rather than writing each and everything. It will avoid your errors as well. So I'm going to select here the context last name. So here what I'm saying is uh, the context that is a node, which is array, and from that node pick the last name and then insert into the last name of the contact. So let's see, let's copy this input JSON here and go to the preview tab. In the input tab, click on the execute. So you see we have now two contacts created. If you open these two contacts, you will see that this is what we gave as an input, my first contact, and this is my second contact. Okay, so this was the example of how you can create multiple records in a single call. So now let's cover the third example where we will be inserting parent and child record all together. So we will name it multi-object single record insert. I'll select the load here, hit the save button, and then I'm going to select here my account object and contact object. So basically in this example we will be creating account first, and once account is created we will insert the contact for that account. So I'll select the account first and then I will select my contact object. Okay, so let's go to the field section. So now you can see as we selected two objects, we can see two different tabs here. So here what I will do is like I will map my name of to the name field of the account, and in the contact section I will utilize the last name, and then I will bind this to the our last name of the contact. Okay, if you click on the all, then you can see all the mappings, like it is account.name coming from the name and then contact.last name coming from the last name. So let's see what happens when you do this. Again we will go back to the like our JSON length, and then we have two variables, name, which is going to be your account name 1, and the last name, which is going to be your contact's name, contact name. Okay, this has been validated. Let's go back, provide the input, click on execute. So now we have a contact record created and we also have the account record created. So account contact is there and account is there, right? But if you see, right, there is no binding between those, right? Those records got created but there is no relationship, right? There is no account populated here, and if you go to the this account record you don't see any of the contacts, right? So we need to do the relationship between those. So what we are going to do here is that we will have this add link button. Click on the add link. It will say, okay, this is our current object contact, and which field we need to populate. We need to populate account ID. Okay, from which object? So we have selected account, so it will say, okay, account. And what field we need to populate from here? We are going to say we need account ID. Okay, so first account get created, and the account ID will be supplied to the contacts account ID. Okay, so let's go and let's hit it again. So now if I go to this contact, and we will see this, that account name has been populated. So we can see the relationship happening here. Okay, so now let's see how we can insert, in this example, how we can insert a single account and multiple contacts to it. So let's go back to the over JSON, and here we will create a node called contacts, and then we will create an array of it. Let's validate it. Okay, this seems correct. Okay, we have now name, which is account name. Contacts, we have two contacts here. So let's copy it and go back to the input. Let's paste it. Okay, so now we have this. Let's go back to the fields, because right now we are saying that name should be matched with the account name and the last name should be matched with the contact's last name, but now this is coming as a list, right? So we need to do some changes here. As I said earlier, if you have complex JSON, prefer to put the JSON here so you can see the mappings. Okay, so let's go back to the account. Let's edit this field now. In the input JSON, rather than saying the just last name, we are going to say that contact's last name. Okay, let's go back. Let's go to the preview, hit the execute button. So now we have like one account record and two contact records created. So if we see the account and if we go to the related list, we will able to see the two contacts record get created. Okay, so this is the example of multi-object, but here we have inserted single account with the single contact, also single account with the multiple contacts. Fourth example, we are going to cover about multiple records of the contact and multiple records of the account as well. So let's go and let's have the name here. So multi-object and multiple record insert, and we will utilize the load here. Hit the save. So here we will do the same practice again. We will select the account first, and then here we will select the contact, and we will do the linking as well. So contacts account ID should be matched to the contact accounts ID. So we have this mapping. Now let's go back to the JSON lint again. So now this was our previous example. Let's move one more step, and we will be creating a list of accounts. In the list of accounts, we will have an array, and each array will have their own account. Okay, so let's see, what did I miss? Okay, I did miss the curly braces. Okay, that's good. So here we will call it account name 1 and contact from account 1, contact from account 2, account name 2, then contact from account 2, and contact from account to here. I will say first, second, then again first, then again second. So as you can see, we have multiple accounts and each account have multiple contacts. So let's go back to the data raptor, and as I said earlier, let's utilize this input JSON and then map out the account name. So we have accounts name should go to the name, and then in the contact, accounts contacts last name should go to the last name of the contact. Okay, so let's go to the preview tab, add the test data here, and then click on the execute. So in the result, we can see that we have 4 contacts and 2 accounts created. And if I go to the first account, we can see we have first account and the 2 contacts that we added, and then we have the second account and the contacts from the second account. So this is how we can create multiple parent record and multiple child records in a single call. Now let's see a fifth example of is lookup. So I'll create an is lookup example, select the load here, save it, and then what we are going to do is just we will insert one object record here. I have selected account. In the field mapping, I'll select name, and then I will have the name here, and we will add one more field which will be our website. But instead of getting this website data directly from the JSON input, what we are going to do is we will pass a username, and based on that username, we will look from the user data table, and from the user data table we will get the email address, and then we will utilize that email address into this website. So here I'll say username and website. Okay, I'll select this is lookup here. So once I click on the checkbox, it will show few more options. Here I'm going to select user object, and then lookup field. Lookup field will be my username. Okay, so this is basically a query, like what we are saying, select ID from user where username equals to this provided username. Okay, then we will have the field data, right? So what data should be going to this website? So that field we are going to mention here. Okay, so here what I will do is I will mention my email. Okay, so basically if we look at this, so this is a query, select ID and email from user where username equals to this provided user name. Okay, and whatever response we have in the email will be stored into the website. So let's see one of user here. So we have this user here, and I will copy this username and go back to the data. So we have two inputs, one name, which is lookup account, then username that I have provided here. Okay, so let's hit the execute button. Okay, so as I told you earlier, you can see the query happening here. So what it is doing, it's fetching ID, email, username from user where username equals to the username that we have provided. And if I go to this account, you will see this account name would be Lookup account, and the website will be populated through the user's email address. So you can see that. Okay, so we have the account and the website got populated from the user object. So this is how we can utilize this as lookup functionality here. Now in this example we will cover how we can do the updates, insert or upserts. So let's click on it. Let's put our data raptor name and then select the load, hit the save button, and then here we will be utilizing the contact object. So I'm going to select here contact. So now let's go to the field section here and select last name, then select last name attribute here, and then add one more, which is your ID and the record ID here. Okay, now we have two options here. So let's explore the first one, upsert key. Okay, so once you select the upsert key, what this data raptor will do, whenever you have this ID passed into the data raptor, it will look for it from the database. Okay, do we have any record or contact record with this ID? Yes, we have. Then it will update the record. If we don't pass this ID and if we don't have the record for it, then it will create new record. So let's see this in action. So here what I'm going to do is, like, I will mention last name and last name as Alan. Okay, so let's hit the execute button. So now one contact record has been created, and now if I add few text here, Alan2, and then I'm going to copy this ID and then I will pass the second attribute of this ID. Okay, so what this will do is, like, now it will update the record rather than creating a new record. So if I hit the execute and if I go back and refresh this record, so you can see this has been updated to the LN. So then what is the use of this checkbox, right? So with IDs it works perfectly without checking this checkbox, but if you have different fields created and which is marked as external ID, then you need to utilize this upsert key. Okay, and this is something that if you want user to forcefully have the ID or external ID, so it always going to update the record. Okay, so that means you cannot pass the data through this data raptor. If this is checked and this is checked, then it means what you are saying is it becomes an update call only. It won't be an insert, right? Because when user pass the data or like pass the external ID, then it will fetch out the record and then it will utilize it. So it's basically require making a field required, so just to keep the data clean. That's it for the this video, and all the examples that I showed you in this video are attached or like added into the description of the video, so those are exported. So feel free to download those JSON data packs and import into your org and play around it. Thank you. Bye bye. See you in the next session.